All right, well, we get to have another conversation with another local leader in the entrepreneurship and business arena in Wilmington. Heather, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got to the CIE?
Sure. My name's Heather McWhorter. I'm the director of the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship here at UNCW. So it's been a bit of a twisted journey to get here, as most people's careers are. I'm actually an engineer, a couple engineering degrees.
Okay.
Chemical engineer, energy and mineral engineering.
Oh my gosh.
And my license is in environmental engineering.
Oh my gosh.
I started out as a defense contractor, and I was working on big national environmental issues.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of fresh out of college, actually working as a mediator between weapons system managers. We're just going to pause there.
I had no idea that this is what's so cool about having these conversations. No idea that would be where you started.
Yeah, that's where I started.
Yeah.
And after I had my second baby,
Mm-hmm.
my husband at the time said, "We live a mile from Penn State. Could you get a job there?" And so we lived at Penn State University, and I was flying out all over the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a friend of mine contacted me who was an attorney about this job at this organization that I didn't even know what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of letters, so I lived in defense acronym world, and he said SBDC at the Penn State something, we're going to form da-da-da, and I was like, I'm going to do what? You want me to apply to do what?
Yeah.
And so I helped to create a program to provide confidential assistance to small businesses out of the Small Business Development Center.
Okay.
Now, this is January 2001.
Okay.
That baby is now an archaeologist, and right now she's in Zanzibar in Africa. So I've been doing this for a minute.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, this is a long story. But anyway, so long story short, I did a whole bunch of things at Penn State. I
Mm-hmm.
grew a whole bunch of programs, including the TV show, around small businesses, entrepreneurs, of course, supported the innovation engine, the $1 billion innovation engine there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got a new president that invested all this money into what I'd been trying to build forever, and I got bored. So I was like, I'm ready to move. I'm ready for a change.
You're one of those people, huh?
I'm a builder.
Yeah. You're one of those. Awesome.
I am a builder. So I had seen some online chatter.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know it's Jim Roberts.
Right.
About what was going on in the Wilmington ecosystem. This was 8 years ago. But I was like, oh, it looks like something's really cool is going on there. I want to be part of it. And I saw a job posting at the SBTDC at UNCW. And so I texted my boyfriend at the time. We'd only been dating for a few months. And I said, do you want to move to Wilmington? And he fired back and said, hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I applied for that job like no other. I had state directors contacting the state director here because I did a lot of stuff nationally for Penn State. And I wanted to move to Wilmington more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that I bought the house before I had the job.
Nice. That's just putting it out there yes. into the world, like I'm coming to Wilmington.
Because I was like, even if it falls through, I'm going to find something.
Yeah.
I'm going to find something because it's going to happen. So fortunately, I got the job.
Mm-hmm.
Loved working at the SBTDC. I think I did a lot of great work there. I created a statewide program there. But what I really liked the magic at Penn State. Like I liked being given the bandwidth to raise money and do what the community needed, what entrepreneurs needed when they needed. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm given at CIE. So I'll pause there. That was a long story.
No, that's perfect. We're going to definitely continue on that, but I want to go back and I want to understand like that bridge from engineering to DTC.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean, you had a conversation with someone, but go into depth a little bit more. How do you get from there to there?
So I completely sabotaged myself in the interview.
Nice.
Yes. Because I was making a lot of money as a defense contractor.
I bet.
And so this friend of mine who was an attorney based out of Philadelphia he got the $1 million to form these environmental assistance programs. He was one of the people in the room when they asked, what's your greatest weakness? And I was like, I'm resistant to change. Period.
Hate change.
Like a month later, he's like, "What the hell are we supposed to do with that? Like, what do you do with that?" I could write a book now about what not to say in an interview. Like, now that I've been on the other side of the table, but like that really had been only my second real interview.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure that I was ready for the change. But once I got in, and I just love helping people in the community that I live in. And I like working one-on-one, and I like seeing the impact and the transformation of people. And so that's why I fell in love with the job. But yeah, the transition, the company that I worked with was a small company. It was an 8A company based out of Washington, D.C., small disadvantaged, which actually the vice president that hired me from Penn State from that job is now a volunteer here for me at CIE. He reached out to me and said, did I see you live in Wilmington? I'm building a house in Leland. And I was like, oh, Bart Whitman, we got to talk. You might want to come be a volunteer. And so he's one of my great volunteers here now at the center. But he hired me in 1993.
That's amazing.
First boss. Yeah.
So funny how things just tend to come around full circle.
Yeah.
And especially the interaction with Jim and how that kind of got you down here.
Yeah.
Were you looking at Wilmington? So before you saw Jim's post and like all the stuff that was going down here, was Wilmington, North Carolina even on your radar?
I did not know it existed.
Okay.
I spent my whole life since I was a baby, I was going to the Outer Banks.
Okay. Yep.
We eventually had a house in Kitty Hawk. And when I moved, I grew up in West Virginia. When I moved to Penn State, my parents moved to Chapel Hill. Okay. And so I would come down to Chapel Hill, we would go to the beach house. Eventually they sold that, and eventually I started, instead of going to the Outer Banks, which just became like so crowded, and also it's like really cold there in the winter.
Yeah, people don't realize that.
Yeah, it's like so blustery. And I started vacationing at Sunset Beach.
Got it, yeah.
Which is now 45 minutes from my home, but I had never been to it's just like, you save up all year to go to the beach, right? And you save up your vacation time, and now I live at vacation. It's amazing.
I know. It's, oh man, when I went to UNCW, and that's how I got to Wilmington. And I think when we were on the inner city visit, which was actually where we met. I mean, we'd interacted before, but when we went on the Chamber's inner city visit a month ago to Savannah, like we actually got a chance to sit down and get to know each other. And now here we are. So
what a great trip too.
Awesome trip. In every session I do, I always give a little shout out to Natalie and the Chamber, just because I believe so much in what they're doing. And so there's a good practical outcome for you. But where the heck was I even going? Oh yeah, went to UNCW. That's how I got to Wilmington. And what I was saying was, I was like, I want a school where I could get a business degree and where I can surf. And I found it narrowed it down. I was like, we came to visit Wilmington. I applied to one school only, UNCW. My parents were like, you should probably apply somewhere else. But I got in.
Love that.
But yeah, so that's how I found Wilmington. And I always wanted to make it home. And it took me a little while to figure it out. But so you at least knew where North Carolina was, and you had spent time in North Carolina.
Yeah, I did. I just hadn't been to Wilmington.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it looking back, my dad lived in Outer Banks, Chapel Hill, Duck. Now lives in Dallas, Texas. But when I was talking to him, I'm like, I'm going to move to Wilmington. He was like, why Wilmington?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Dad, the entrepreneurial ecosystem, this town is going places.
Mm-hmm.
It has a growing tech community. This is exactly what I want to do. This is going to be incredible. Now the man is all I can do to keep him from not buying a house here. Like, he's like, this is exactly where I want to be. Every time he comes, he was just here for 2 weeks, like going down to the Brunswick County beaches, fishing, and because it's just such a great place to be.
Yeah, no, it really is. And now what we've got, like you said, with the business ecosystem, small business, the tech stuff. I haven't really gotten into much of the real like tech startup, and I'd kind of like to learn a little bit more about that from you. But yeah, I mean, just the small business opportunity and development that's going on in the community that we have makes it a really cool place. Yeah,
it sure does.
So your role, what is the vision, the mission of the CIE?
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you do on a day-to-day basis to kind of move the organization forward?
Well, so CIE, if you rewind the clock about 10 years ago, Wilmington was a lot smaller, right? And the entrepreneurial community maybe had a little spark, but there really wasn't a place for entrepreneurs to gather. There weren't any organizations in town to support our high impact entrepreneurs. I talk about that. That's an academic term. It's a tech-based and science-based entrepreneurs. So those scalable entrepreneurs. There wasn't any place in town. And so actually the chamber came to UNCW and said, Wilmington needs a thing. And so the thing created was CIE 10 years ago. And so you won't find a CIE in hardly any town. Like, I go to national conferences and an international conference, NBIA, and they're so impressed with what we can do right here as a university entrepreneurship center, engaging the community, engaging our founders. We have 200 volunteers too.
Wow.
So that's a really scalable way to connect knowledge and talent to up and coming entrepreneurs. Of course, engaging students, but that isn't, a lot of times entrepreneurship centers will only focus on students or only focus on faculty, but this is really for the betterment of all. So our mission is to support the high impact entrepreneurs, again, science and tech based, and then also to work with the community to create this vibrant innovation hub. And so that's where we do a lot of other things with youth. We do our ocean innovation work. We're working with a regional engine to look at like workforce and other things to create more problem solving around coastal resiliency, because we need that where we live, right? So that's maybe a two-part mission of what we do.
Got it. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's cool that it's not, like you said, it's not directed only at students or only at this. It's a community-based approach.
I consider us a Superhub.
Superhub.
That's
cool.
right. We're a Superhub. Now, technically Superhubs are like, I don't know, Bangladesh and things like that. But I'm claiming Superhub for small cities.
Yeah.
Because we are internationally ranked as a city, and CIE has been a big part of that, making that happen.
So what is a Superhub? I should have asked that.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you said that.
So it's these providers that do, like, we don't only have an incubator. We do have an incubator.
Right.
We have also co-working. We also have a pre-accelerator. We also have educational programs. We also have a mentorship program. We also, I mean, I could just keep listing. And so often an organization might have like an incubator and a small mentoring program. Or, because it's a lot to manage when you're trying to foster everything from K through 12, sparking their interest in entrepreneurship all the way up to supporting our venture backable businesses in our region. It's a wide scope, and you need to approach out in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. So how big, being a super hub, having all these different programs, all these different, initiatives that you guys are, how big is the organization? How many employees?
Yeah, so we...
And you said 200 volunteers, so
yeah.
That's...
So the majority of our workforce is volunteers.
Volunteer-based.
We have 3 full-time people.
Okay.
And we have 4 part-time people,
Mm-hmm.
about 10 interns, and our volunteers and our partners. A lot of handshakes and let's do this together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So who would be some of the major partners? We've talked about the chamber. I mean, I would expect UNCW, obviously.
Yeah.
What are some of the other major partners that support and you guys work alongside to, deliver some of the programming and
Network for Entrepreneurs in Wilmington for sure.
Yep.
Jim Roberts,
Yep.
love everything that he does, and we're a big supporter of what he does and how he's connecting Wilmington with the rest of North Carolina and with venture capital, and
absolutely.
He's critical to our success. Another big partner is NCIE Foundation, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So they have funded us, but also I'm one of the two reviewers from Wilmington that helps with the seed process, the
Mm-hmm.
seed grants, $50,000 grants. And so when the info sessions occur in Wilmington, they occur here at CIE.
Yep.
We're happy to do that. And so we make sure that people fully understand the micro grant process, mm-hmm. which is $10,000, the seed grant, which is $50,000. And so they are another huge part because they'll invest in these high impact entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Also, we're part of the Wilmington Coalition. So there's about 15 organizations in that. I'm currently the chair of that. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I keep reminding everybody, outgoing chair. We are having elections again in July.
Oh my gosh.
So, but the chamber belongs to that. So these are all the organizations in the region that are not for profit,
mm-hmm.
But that support small businesses and entrepreneurs. And so we can coordinate our services to make sure that all of the ecosystem gaps are met.
Got it.
And then also to make sure a seamless experience for the founders. So, because each of us support a founder during a portion of their journey, right? And so we can refer them back and forth seamlessly. So, other partners that I work with real often, Cape Fear Community College Small Business Center, Jerry Coleman.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He is incredible. He has more than 100 programs a year. So if somebody's new to entrepreneurship,
mm-hmm.
I mean, all of his programs are free. So that educational component, just get on there and learn, right? Mm-hmm. Learn how to set up your business. Learn, because knowledge is power.
Yep.
Other one, SBTDC. So again, acronyms, Small Business and Technology Development Center.
Yes.
So the small business centers are state funded. They're community college. SBTDC is a federal program. Small Business Administration funds them. Okay. Anywhere you go in the nation, you'll find a Small Business Development Center. North Carolina Special, we have a TNRs because they can help with tech commercialization as well. They have that accreditation. So they have federal funding. So they'll help with everything from setting up LLC and the paperwork. They have a business launch specialist.
Wow.
Yeah, and like all that early paperwork. And then they help with like the mid-sized manufacturers in town, 100, 200 employees. They help them with their strategic planning. They can do a lot of market research. They do cash flow projections.
No way.
Yeah.
How, if I'm an aspiring entrepreneur, how do I get into that?
Yeah.
Submit an application or?
Yeah, you just go right onto their website. If you Google UNCW SBTDC,
okay,
that should take you right to their website. just fill out a form online.
Got it.
So they had to do a form because it's federal government.
Right.
But that just sends them an email, and then they reach out to you and schedule a meeting. It's as simple as that. It's free. It's confidential by federal law.
Uh-huh.
And so some people, the nice thing about SBTDC is that, like, if you currently have a day job and you don't want your employer to know that you're thinking about starting something on the side,
Yeah.
you can trust that. I mean, you can trust anybody, but you can trust SBTDC by under federal law that
it's
they're
fully
not going to say
confidential.
your name to anyone,
Got
even.
it.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, I feel like I kind of live under a rock and I'm ignorant to so many things, but like, you know, I didn't even know that service was there. And again, it's probably me just being, you know, so focused in my like little
Well.
world, but you know, that's also, you know, that's some really, really important information and such an awesome
Yeah.
program that we need more people to understand, because so many people, like, the constraint or the roadblock to you starting a business should not be, how do I file my LLC paperwork?
Right.
Like, how do I get past a lot of this like compliance stuff that
Right.
I don't know about? It scares me.
Right.
Like, you know, and that can't be a constraint.
Right.
And it sounds like
Yeah.
that takes that away.
Yeah, it takes it away, and the journey of entrepreneurship is lonely, and it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Like that whole journey, there are people in our community that will help you along that way.
It's so cool.
And then the other thing is, like I said, knowledge is power. I think that people can become overwhelmed, and you know, when you get on Google or YouTube or whatever, you get all this information, but it all becomes like you don't have clarity about what's important at the time, right? And that's where meeting with the ecosystem builder, any of us, can really help. Like, no, you don't need to worry about raising venture capital right now. You need to define your value proposition.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
or
Absolutely.
whatever that is for that entrepreneur, and really, and then we can also be accountability partners where, you know, work on this for a month. Once you have that complete, reach out to me and schedule another meeting.
That's amazing. Yeah, so you got the service, you got the support system, you've got
Yeah.
experienced people that have been there, done it before, and can
Yeah.
kind of help you go step by step.
Yep.
You know, it's in my line of work, you know, as a consultant, let's say, you know, it's so easy to go into, or it's not so easy, but it's easy to go into someone else's business and solve their problems, because when it's your problem, you're kind of like blinded, right? You're jaded, you've got a lot of emotion towards it. And as like an entrepreneur who has some like cool idea,
Yeah.
I'm sure that, you know, you have a lot of blind spots because you're
Right.
just so obsessed with this idea.
Right.
And, you know, and then having someone to come in and talk, you know, with you on a, you know, a practical basis of,
Right.
hey, all right, step one is this. Like, okay,
Right.
that's where we're going to be, right? But like, what do
Right.
we have to do today? What do we have to
Right.
do tomorrow?
Right. To help you on that journey. Just, yeah. Like I said, it's good to have that accountability partner. It's good. It's also good to reach out to other entrepreneurs in a
Yeah.
similar industry that might not be competitors, but that you can learn from. But the thing that I love about the ecosystem builders like SBTDC, like Cape Fear Community College, like CIE, like NEW, is that we've seen so many business models
Yeah.
that, you know, we haven't only built one or two businesses.
Right.
I've seen thousands
So
and thousands, you know, and
Exactly.
so you can start to see trends of what's going to work and what's not going to be not going to work. And so while the founder really needs to discover that themselves, you can help them guide it and accelerate success.
Yeah. And I've also just been amazed just on my little entrepreneurial journey over the past couple of years is how many people just would love to help. Like if you ask, like
Yeah.
people will go out of their way to help you? I mean, for example, I called you up. I was like, hey, I'm doing this podcast thing. Like, can we do it at CIE? And hey, would you be willing to join? And you're like, of course,
Of course, yeah.
But I think that a lot of people get nervous, like, oh, I don't want to ask. I don't want to tell, come out of my shell. But
yeah,
I mean, I think that's another thing of realization that people might get from being in this type of ecosystem is that, hey, like, people love to help.
Right.
They really do.
Right, they really do. Yeah.
So, all right. So you joined the CIE 8 years ago.
So I joined UNCW about 7 years ago.
Okay.
I joined CIE just a couple years ago because I was at the SBTDC first.
So those are separate entities.
So yeah.
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
yeah. CIE is under research.
Excuse me.
SBTDC is under Cameron School of Business.
Okay, got it.
And so different organization. The SBTC has a new director now, Gloria Monroe, who is excellent.
I met her a couple weeks ago when
Okay,
I was in
great.
here for 1 Million Cups.
Great, yeah. And so, yeah, I'm getting ready here. What's today's date? I'm almost at my 2-year mark.
Okay.
So we've rolled out a ton of new programs. I hired an executive assistant.
Nice.
So that's been wonderful. Just really looking to, go strong into this second decade to help our community continue to thrive.
Yeah. So what do you see here in Wilmington specifically as some of the initiatives or some of the important topics that we need to address to help entrepreneurs, to help new business and in any really industry, I guess. But
So gaps or?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What are some of the gaps we have?
Yeah. I would say the community has grown faster than the entrepreneurial ecosystem has. And so funding hasn't followed population growth, but
Okay.
entrepreneurship is at an all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
So according to the numbers, we've never started businesses like we have now.
Mm-hmm.
Since COVID, and it isn't slowing down. But we have the same amount of people supporting entrepreneurs in Wilmington, and so we need more of us to make sure that we continue to support everybody's growth. That I see as a huge issue. Another one I think is that I've been talking with Prospera Jose Alvarez.
Okay.
He's in Charlotte. They offer only programming in Spanish. I think that with our growing population of Spanish-speaking citizens in our region, there's an opportunity to expand with that programming and engage that community more with small business development. That's another gap. And then just continuing on, we've made strides, but continuing on with building the tech community in our region. Everything from ecosystem buildings, like we need more gathering of the tech builders. There's little ones, like little meetups, but we really need to continue on that path in meaningful ways that are meaningful for the tech community.
Right.
And then continuing to build on the capital that's needed to scale the businesses.
Yeah. How is, without going into confidential stuff, I mean, how is the CIE funded?
Yeah. So we're funded, about 40% of our funding is from UNCW.
Okay.
About 40% from the money that I raise from tenant revenues, memberships, sponsorships, that sort of thing. And then the other 20% in grants. So the city of Wilmington gives us a grant, NCIDEA usually gives us some kind of grant to help us do our programming.
Okay. And you know, what's that annual? Is it annual process of saying, hey, this is what our plan is, this is what we'd really like, and then it's like, well, no, this is what we can give you. What's that kind of budgeting, planning process look
from
like?
UNCW?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's actually been pretty even. Like, it isn't. There hasn't been like a call for
Right.
additional things. I mean, I always ask for additional staff members.
Right. Some
Always.
human capital.
And anytime I see an opportunity, I ask. I've asked for a program manager for student entrepreneurship only, as an example, because I think with our 18,000 students, we really need a program manager that focuses on letting the students live into that dream. And understanding what entrepreneurship is, intrapreneurship is, having those small scale experiences, knowing that they will full well go get a full-time job, but maybe in their 40s they'll come back, start a scalable business, and it will be scalable then, instead of maybe selling on Etsy, have no problems with anybody selling on Etsy, but like what a scalable business looks like that can create wealth for your family. And so I think we have this captive audience that keeps coming and going, and I really want to grow into that space while keeping the focus still on the community as well.
So you mentioned a while back at the start, you know, you have a passion for helping other people, you know, building stuff, and I mean, what a better role to have than to do this, because it sounds like, but so, you know, I've always, not always, I mean, I've only been around for not so long, but I like to think that, you know, small business development can solve so many of the socioeconomic problems, so many problems that we have. And I don't know, I think that when I started my business, I didn't really fully know what my vision was. You know, I was more kind of like, you know, I want to be a business owner. I don't really have any good ideas, so I'll just continue being an accountant. And but what I started to realize is that through that, I get to help other people achieve their goals, and I get to help other people, you know, make their businesses successful. And that's what's so cool about entrepreneurship is like we can literally change things.
We can change people's lives.
We can change people
through entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
It's the great equalizer. I believe that. Are there more roadblocks for some people to succeed than others? Yes, but they can succeed.
Absolutely.
And this, you know, the entrepreneurial mindset, which is like this whole thought process of, you know, how the successful entrepreneurs think differently. They don't see a roadblock in life, right? They only see opportunities. Like that entrepreneurial mindset can make everybody's lives better.
Exactly. No, that's such a good way to put it. It's not necessarily being not having some specific business that does something to make the world better. It's the mindset of how they approach every part of their life.
Right.
Every interaction with every person.
Right.
And I think, you know, so like I've only been an business owner for like, you know, 2 years now. So I started in like the most structured corporate environment you could think of. Like I was an auditor in a public accounting firm, you know, like this is what you're going to do today. And these are the rules and these are the guidelines. And so I think that, you know, it's also, you can, like you said, like you can start with a career in like a corporation, for example, and then you could come back around and, you know, the mindset that you have as an entrepreneur, you know, you might not necessarily be born with it or like have it like right away, but it's like it's a journey. Like you start here and over 15 years you have all these experiences, and next thing you know you're like, I can do this.
But nobody does it alone, you know, and
Totally.
And but I do think that with this entrepreneurial mindset, you can be a better employee, you can be a better human, right? That you just, everybody has choices when they wake up every day. and it's what you do with those hours ahead of you, and how you choose to look at the world.
You said, an entrepreneurial mindset can make you be a better employee, and I totally agree with that, because how can I make things better? How can I do things more efficiently? How can I solve this problem? And you also mentioned the term entrepreneur.
Yes.
Are those related?
Yes, they are.
I don't know, what is the definition of entrepreneur?
So entrepreneurship is innovation and creating products and services within a corporation or organization. So you have a steady paycheck, but you're creating things. So I consider myself an entrepreneur, because if I'm not creating, I get bored. Yeah. So, but that's, so even like if you think of like a GE or PPD or whoever, they're going to have innovative people that are looking and forming new teams and forming new products. And those are the entrepreneurs.
Got it. Yeah, I think was it Google maybe, where they have like a policy, it was like the 3/5 or...
Yeah, I think, well, at least one day a week.
Yeah, or 4/5 maybe, but it's like one day a week, it's like, don't work on anything you're supposed to work on, basically. Yeah. And some of the best, and like some of their best things came from that. Like I think Gmail was one of them. Yeah. There was a speaker, were you at the annual meeting that the chamber put on?
I was.
And remember
the paperclip.
The paperclip, and there was the guest speaker that used to work at Google, and he talked about all that. That was
really good.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
That one got me super motivated. Like hearing that, I was like, all right, let's double down. Let's go do. Let's keep going. But that's cool. So how so a little bit more about like the CIE, like actual physical infrastructure.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What stuff
so
you guys have here?
Anybody can come visit us. We're open during UNCW hours.
Yeah.
When you come to visit us at 803 South College, we're located just next to campus. There's free parking out front. Yeah. So that's the most important thing. As part of our value proposition, you can just pull right off of College and come into the parking lot right in front of our building. You don't have to deal with parking on campus. So inside our building, we have 20 offices that we rent out to emerging startups. They're available to most entrepreneurs that are working kind of in that space or supporting those types of entrepreneurs. It's monthly rent. Yep. And we have a co-working space as well. Both of those are available 24/7 to the tenants, and then they have access to the 2 conference rooms. We're sitting in one of the conference rooms. This one's called Rising Tide.
Rising Tide.
And then we have the Ocean Room off of the lobby, which is our second conference room. And then we have a big event space in the back. So our event space is where a lot of our magic happens. It's where we have 1 million cups every week, Wednesday, 9 a.m. You can just show up. We have events, like we have an event tonight, so it gets rented out as well. It's one of the, when I talked about 40% of the things that we sell. Yeah. So I have a cruise line that's going to be renting it out for a team building activity.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like a lot of different organizations will rent it out to get off of their campus. Yeah. But it's available for rent as well. Okay. And so we can configure it in a variety of ways, but we also have almost all of our programming in that room as well. And then different investor groups use it as well, and I offer it to the investor groups, venture capital groups for free, because I want them here.
Yeah, exactly. To get an office space here, you said most entrepreneurs. Is there like a specific life cycle of business that they're in?
It's kind of like a case-by-case situation. The guidelines are on our website, but it's really based on the conversation with the founder. If it's somebody that if it's a real mature company and they're just looking for not free, but low cost office space, this isn't the place for them. Right. If they're looking to engage the entrepreneurial ecosystem but aren't high impact startup, then this might be the right place for them, right? And so we do have an attorney here that works and will take any of my student referrals or anything for free. And so we do have an attorney here. So we do have some of those exceptions. It's just a case-by-case situation.
Yeah, no, that makes all the sense in the world. It's like you're building an ecosystem, right?
Right, we're building an ecosystem.
You're building an ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it's about the culture, it's about the fit, it's about,
Right.
you know, like, are you going, are you going to contribute to this community?
Right.
A little bit, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cool
Yeah.
people only.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I mean, I'm not going to say there hasn't been like Nerf gun wars back in like for days on end.
For days on end. And so like, that's like what I would think of in like, you know, like the stereotypical like tech startup. It's like dude sleeping on his desk all night and then wakes up with a Nerf gun or something. That's hilarious. What are some of the businesses that have been through here that have, you know, gone on to be pretty successful? Or
so Susie was here, you know, Susie the marketing company with William Mansfield.
Yes.
So he was here. So of course left CIE to make 36-figure jobs downtown. So I consider him that tech team a success. Now they're New York based, but you know, forming the tech team here. Who else? This would be a great question for Jim Roberts.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't.
Because
Sorry,
he has
I
a
didn't mean
longer
to
history.
put you on the spot.
Yeah. So 802 Marketing also.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Rieg has also moved on to get. He's a marketing type company.
Mm-hmm.
Moved out into really nice office space with a big team as well. So sometimes entrepreneurs just need to be here to like gather that steam, raise the money, you know, and then they can go out and ultimately it's what we want them to do, right? Go out into the world, into the commercial spaces and
And I know Wayne Hippo, I actually had him, we did an interview here last week.
Yeah.
And when he came down here, they had a space here, right?
Yeah.
And now they're out.
Yeah, that was like 7 years ago.
Yeah, and now he's out and, you know, has hired people and got his business. So he's from like, you know, Altoona State College area. Did you guys know each other before Wilmington?
We did not know each other. And we live like 45 minutes from each other.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That is so funny. Yeah. Well, cool. I'd just like to thank you very much again for all the work that you're doing to support other people. Support other people achieve their goals and just, you know, and coming on to the podcast and having a chat.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I look forward to interacting more and working with you on some stuff going forward. So.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.